What is a story? Is it a reflection of our experiences? Narratives to escape the mundane? Perhaps words of wisdom to help us navigate trying times in life? Stories can be told in different forms: narrative, visual, or performance. But what is it that has drawn us to stories throughout our existence? And is it only us who love to indulge in stories? My name is Ru Atiti. Join me as we analyze our fascination with storytelling. Research is inconclusive as to whether other creatures enjoy storytelling. Social animals can communicate their lived experiences to members of their own group. They can pass down essential knowledge, like where to find food, water, or dangerous places to avoid. While this isn't definitive proof that animals enjoy storytelling, I like to think they do. We know that animals respond to music in a variety of ways, and music is one of the ways we tell stories. The humpback whale is one of the greatest songwriters of the natural world and the composer of the ballad you heard at the beginning of the video. Researchers have found that humpback whales compose new songs each year. It's believed they use these songs to communicate with each other as they traverse the vastness of the sea. What they're singing about remains a mystery. Maybe it's something like our own folk songs. Only they know. If you're curious about humpback whales and their ballads, check out the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. They've done incredible research on these songs. Perhaps what separates us from our animal neighbors is our ability to record our stories and pass them down across generations. From the earliest humans painting images in caves, the modern man capturing our thoughts in moving images, text, and photographs, we all do this to preserve fleeting moments in time. In West Africa, caravans used to traverse different villages and kingdoms just to tell stories. These were professional storytellers who dedicated their entire lives to the art of storytelling. In the book Canny Rabbit, Mr. Spider, and the Other Beef, legendary name for a title by the way, written by Florence M. Cronies and Henry W. Ward, the authors, two missionaries living among the Vai people of Liberia, sought to collect and record local folktales for posterity. They captured the atmosphere, the excitement among the locals as the storytelling caravans visited their village. They also wanted to preserve the local dialect as much as possible, inadvertently making the book a difficult but worthy read. I personally love how the Vai people refer to animals as beef. This book was my first encounter with the traveling storytellers, and it reminded me a lot of my childhood. I was drawn to stories from an early age. My dad used to tell us various African folk tales after dinner. It was always an occasion to look forward to. Because of this, all of my siblings have a storytelling bond within them, each of us embracing different aspects of storytelling, musically, narratively, or visually. I fell in love with visual storytelling before I even knew how to draw. My dad worked at the National Museums of Kenya, which granted us access to restricted parts of the museum, like the library, which had an impressive collection of books. I read a lot of books during this time, but what always stuck with me were the picture books, not just because I was a kid, but because of the visual storytelling and the beautiful art. It wasn't until I discovered my passion for drawing that I truly embraced visual storytelling. What started as a simple attempt to copy one of my brother's card drawings soon spiraled out of control. I remember asking my parents for notepads to draw on and obsessively filling them. When I was about 10, a famous African comic book hit the market, Super Strikers, and everyone went nuts for it, including me. They came free inside a newspaper at the end of the month. Sometimes I would save up some money and buy newspapers just to have one. Other times, I would steal a copy from someone at school. After a while, I decided to start making my own comic books because I thought I could do that too. And I had seen an episode of Dexter's Laboratory that inspired me to do the same. This whole adventure ran for about 3 years. Every week, I made a comic book and put it on a table for my siblings to read. What was it called, you ask? You don't want to know that. Okay, fine. We were Superstars, a knockoff of Super Strikers, but with a twist. The main character was a mixed-race guy because the main character in Super Strikers was black. My comic book had Asian, black, white, and mixed-race characters from every corner of the world. You could say I was work before Disney even knew what to do with the term. I bet a bunch of you clicked off after I said I was more work than Disney. Which brings me to the question, why do we tell stories? The internet is awash with opinions on why bringing politics and identity issues into movies and books is ruining the creative industry. Stories are a gateway to escape reality. You can travel to a whole new world and escape your current circumstances. Maybe you're growing up in an unstable home or feel like an outsider. You can conjure up worlds that act as a refuge or a safe space. Escapist stories are often inspired by periods of turmoil like Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, which was written during the Second World War. Some stories can also be used to reflect on our shortcomings as society, like Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. Stories can address political issues and identity issues. Despite what much of the internet preaches, it's not a DEI agenda ruining the entertainment industry. It's more closely related to greed and the relentless pursuit of profits, among other issues. One of the greatest rules of storytelling is write what you know, a foreign concept in an age where everyone claims to be experts online. The idea behind writing what you know is simple. Write about your experiences and the things you care about. This makes the story memorable and relatable. The problem with corporate mandated work stories is that often they're not written by people who lived these experiences. They want to write about strong women without addressing the human side of being a strong woman, the constant social stigma or abuse they face for straying away from the societal norms. They want to tell stories about gender identity without addressing the mental and emotional strain that comes with the rejection of their true self by society. These narratives need to be written by those who experience them or by people who have a deep understanding and empathy to handle them with care. It's no coincidence that the most viewed video on Little Reuby is Fix You, a story about overcoming depression which is inspired by actual experiences. When I began writing our upcoming project, Amsideria, the Flying Man, I knew many of its themes would be uncomfortable. I am an avid reader of history, and I wanted more than anything to capture what Africa was like in the 1910s. Yet I did not live in that era. So much of the story became influenced by my life during the time of writing. The story is an escape from my own personal turmoil at the time, as much as it is coming to terms with it. I go into detail about how the story comes to life in the Amsiderian Gazette, our weekly publication available for our Geminis. You too can become a Gemini by following the link in the description or pinned comment. Charles Dickens dedicated his life to capturing the plight of the poor in urban London at a time when the elite and aristocracy believed poverty was a result of laziness. Through his stories, he was able to expose the systemic issues that fostered poverty in Victorian-era Great Britain. His work influenced labor reforms across Britain, like the adoption of laws to protect children from child labor. So, if you ask me, why do we tell stories? We tell stories to share our experiences in the hopes that we can make our existence or that of others more bearable. Why do you think we're drawn to stories, and why do we tell them? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, consider joining the Amsiderian Gazette to read the personal story that inspired our upcoming project, Amsideria, the Flying Man. My name is Atiti. You've been watching Little Reuby.